Welcome everybody, Bruchim Habayim. Welcome to all our viewers throughout the world on Torah Anytime. So tonight, Bez Hashem, we're going to be studying the Parshat Bo, and we're going to see, of course, as we try to do every Thursday night, the interplay, the convergence between the Torah Shebachsav and the Torah Sheba'al Peh, between the written law and the oral law. How it blends so harmoniously and it fuses so with such synchronicity and with such precision. The pasuk says in Shemos, if you go to the previous 2 weeks ago's Parsha in Shemos, it's on page 306. Anybody who wants to follow along in the Stone Chumash, it's in chapter 3, Parak Gimel, Pasuk Chaf Aleph. God tells Moshe Rabbeinu at the burning bush, he's trying to prevail upon Moshe Rabbeinu to take the job, to be the Messiah, to be the Mashiach Hashem, to anoint him as the Mashiach to liberate the Jewish people. He says, not only will the Jewish people get out from the tyranny and oppression and enslavement and torture, which itself is monumental. They were there for hundreds of years. Where do you hear about a slave nation being able to be liberated? But that itself is epic, but something else will happen. The people will end up so enamored and infatuated to Jewish people, the tormentors, the captors will be so enamored by the Jewish people, and a special charm, special charisma they will have in the eyes of the Egyptians, in the eyes of the Egyptians. And when the Jews finally get out from their misery and torture, they're not going to go out empty. All right, well, they're going to go out. They're going to go out with Mercedes and Porsches and Lexuses and Lamborghinis and everything else, and not only they're going to have all the most luxurious cars, but also V'shala isha mishchenta umigaras beisa klei kesef v'klei zav v'smalos. It says not only that, but I will make sure that every lady. No, women like things, right? Women like diamond necklaces, and they like exquisite things. So the women, don't worry, they're not going to leave empty-handed. They're going to go out with fur coats, and they're going to go out with their beautiful earrings. Each woman will request from her neighbor. It says, V'shala isha mishchenta. Remember, code word. We're going to cross-reference this. We're going to dissect this soon. Every woman will ask from who? Mishchenta. From her neighbor. At least somebody's listening here. Thank you, Gershon. Right, that's umigaras beisa, and also what? From the one who lives in her house. What? Klei kesef klei zav, silver ornaments and gold ornaments and vessels and utensils, usmaros and beautiful clothing. And they're going to dress their children in it, put it on their sons and daughters, and they will impoverish Egypt. They will empty out Egypt. Oh boy, what a prophecy here that Hashem is telling Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, everybody got it? So who's borrowing? Who is going to borrow from who? The woman will borrow from their shchenta, from their neighbors. Okay, that's in Parshas Shemos. Let's go further to page 346. We're now in Parshas Bo in the current week's Parsha. This is not the coming attraction. This is the attraction. We're right here. Shabbos. Don't miss it. I know a lot of people, they sleep through Shabbos morning. Don't. You're going to miss they're going to miss the locust, the swarms of locusts coming, and you're going to miss the darkness. I mean, this is so exciting. You should sit at the edge of your seat when you're in shul listening to Kriyas Torah. You don't want to miss it. It's enthralling. It's captivating. It's so dramatic. Imagine if it was up to me. I mean, I'm not, but I would actually make side effects during the Kriyas Torah on Shabbos morning. Obviously, it would have to be Shabbosdik somehow, but I would have like these, these locusts flying into shul, especially hitting the balabas who doesn't behave so well, or those people that talk during davening. Baruch at BGX, no talking during davening. We don't allow it. And if you catch them talking during davening, you tell me, and you know what I do to them? I put a stun gun. I should, but the people talking during davening, all of a sudden they get hit by a locust right up their nose. Can I imagine that? And then if they still persist in talking their davening, they get plague of darkness. All right, chas v'shalom. Okay, we don't wish anything upon anybody. Everybody should just behave and understand to have reverence for the davening, right? So now the pasuk says in Parshas Bo, what does it say? It's in chapter 11. Nobody likes hearing about chapter 11. Nobody likes declaring chapter 11, but there's a chapter 11. Okay, it's the Chumash. Okay, bankruptcy, right? Anyhow, but this is really bankruptcy because Egypt becomes bankrupt. And how appropriate is it? It's in chapter 11. So what does it say here? Listen very carefully now. All joking aside, listen very carefully. I want you to do not an analysis here. I want you to do a meta-analysis over here. And pretend you're in a college course right now, and you have to take this very, very seriously. Listen to what it says. Daber na. Moshe Rabbeinu is listening to God himself, to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Daber na. God says, Daber na. Speak na means please. Ba'oznei in the ears of the people, means the Jewish people, the Israelites. V'yish'alu ish me'es re'eu. A man should borrow from re'eu, from his neighbor. V'isha me'es ruza. And a woman should borrow from her neighbor. Clay, kesef, clay zav. Golden and silver ornaments or utensils or vessels, whatever it is. It reiterates a passage that was already stated. That It reiterates that the Rebbeinu Shalom will put a certain grace, a certain charisma, a certain shine, and the Egyptians will be attracted to the Jewish people. And Gama Ish Moshe Gadol Moshe Rabbeinu will become great and full of stature. Okay, let me ask you a question. How does this change from the first account, the prophecy that Rebbeinu Shalom, God Almighty, tells Moshe Rabbeinu the very first time, a revelation at the burning bush? How does it change? Give me some code words.
The code word for what again?
Give me some code words. Give me some code words. Okay, the first time. Who was borrowing, who was taking, who was ransacking, if you may, impoverishing the Egyptians? Gender, male or female?
Male.
It was male. The locust.
Did it say that? No, what did it say? Remember, Moshe Rabbeinu is at the burning bush. Let's look at the pasuk. The pasuk says, let's see what the pasuk says. V'sha'ala isha mishchenta. A woman will borrow, assuming shal means borrow, not supposhet. Huge tumult, huge pandemonium amongst the Rishonim. What does v'shala mean? Does it mean borrow? Or does it mean entitlement, taking entitlement? Isha mishchenta. A woman is taking mishchenta from her shachen. Shchenta is feminine neighbor. So one woman is taking, a Jewish woman is taking from the Egyptian woman. Yeah? Whoa, 1 second. So something changes in Parshat Bo. There it says ish, it says a man, it doesn't say a woman anymore. It starts with a man, and it doesn't say shchenta, it says the ru'usa, or re'ehu. It doesn't say neighbor. It says re'usa and re'ehu literally does not mean neighbor, it means friend. Somebody that is a companion of yours. Somebody that's a compatriot of yours. Somebody who you have camaraderie with. Not shchenta. Okay? Now, I know all the people watching in Torah Anytime, they're begging, they're itching. They say, I knew that. I wanted to say that. But you're not listening live, sorry. Come here, you can hear live. Travel from, if you're listening in Australia, you can travel. If you're listening from Chile, travel. If you're listening in the tri-state area, come. It's worth you. Listen, if you're listening on Torah Anytime, you don't get the sushi and the beer, you don't get to sit in the aura of BGX, I'm sorry. But listen, so you said, Isha Mishchenta. You hear? Isha Mishchenta. This says, what happened? Why does Rebbeinu Shalom change? What happened here? He changes from Isha and Shchenta to Ish and Re'ehu and Isha Rusa. What's going on here? What's going on here? Furthermore, another question. What's Pshat? What's the interpretation here? Daber na be'oznei. Please, Moshe Rabbeinu. Please, I'm begging you. No, please. This is a bakasha. This is a request. I'm beseeching you to please make sure that the Jewish people don't leave empty-handed, that they go ahead and they take their Porsches and Mercedes and Lexuses and the fur coats and diamond necklaces from the Egyptian. You have to ask Moshe Rabbeinu, please? No. Baruch Nu, you're here. It's a good kasha, no?
It can mean now, no?
No, so no, in a different context, actually, with Esav. Haliteni no. I want the red beans, right? He was fatigued, he was famished, he was infuriated, whatever, all the different elements of his personality. He was exasperated, he was coming from a hunting spree, and he says, I'm starving to death. Haliteni no. He said, please, no, it means, please, give me from the red beans, Yaakov, Jacob, that you're cooking. So it's out of character. Esav was a brute. Since when does a brute say please? So therefore, the Rishonim explained that no over there doesn't, no could also mean, no has two meanings. It can mean please, it can mean raw. So he asked, he says, I want it raw. Forget about cooking it. I'm starving. Just give it to me. I'm a glutton for punishment. Just give it to me. Here, you can't say no means raw. Daber, no. The Baruch Shalom was saying, please, Daber, speak to the Jewish people. Make sure that they go ahead and they take things from the Egyptians before they go, so they don't go empty-handed. Okay.
If you borrow something, you have to return it. How come you use it?
Very good. We're getting there. Very good. Yecheskel, Baruch Hashem. Say thank you, Hashem, for giving me a brain. Baruch Hashem. It's not a kleinigkeit.
Is this going to tie into the famous Gemara with Alexander the Great?
Israel, Mamash. Yeah, right here. It's right. Open, the Gemara's open.
Spoiler event.
Okay.
I would think since they had a slave mentality, they were still afraid of the Egyptians, even though...
Very good. Excellent. You're mechadish to the Rishonim and Achronim. Okay, excellent. Okay, very good. So now let's see. So we have a lot of questions over here. A lot of things don't make sense according to the way we look at it. Why does Rabban Shem God? We're not dealing with a mortal here. Why does he change his lexicon? Why does he change his terminology, his verbiage from Shchenta to Rusa? He says, no, please. He changes from the woman borrowing initially, then all of a sudden it's the man that's taking, and the woman, but the woman follows the man all of a sudden. The man wasn't mentioned at all in his prophecy by the burning bush. Yeah, Baruch, no. A lot of questions here. Okay, so let's see. Lamazen, let's see a Gemara. A famous Gemara that Israel just referenced. And the Gemara is in Sanhedrin, Daf Tzadik Aleph. Zokti Gemara. The Gemara says, Tan Rabbanim, Besrim V'Arba B'Nisan, on the 24th day of Nisan. Now, the emes is, by the way, the 24th day of Nisan, if you study Megillas Tainus is not Tractate Tainus. It was a compendium of different holidays that the Jewish people did not fast. And that's why many Rishonim ask why it's called Megillas Tainus. It should be called Megillas Yontif, because it's recording the miniature one.
35 days.
Right. It's recording these days that you don't fast. And it's a ksas, a mix as a partial Yontif, right? So, Baruch Hashem Daniel's, he's a Bucky in Maseches times, Baruch Hashem. Mamash a Bucky. He knows it almost like cold. Right? But as far as... all right, that's a question. By the way, the Vilna Gaon has a different gears over here. He has a different nusach. And his is not the 24th day of Nisan. It's actually the 25th day of Sivan. He holds it was a mistake. It's not 24th day of Nisan. And this was made into a yontif. All right? Now, we Jews, we love partying. As one famous comedian said, what's the whole Jewish religion about? They try to kill us, we won, let's party, let's eat, right? That's what Judaism is about. They try to kill us, we won, let's eat. Okay. All right, so, especially sushi. You know that. We always serve sushi at BGX. We actually had sushi ready because we had a few programs already this week, Baruch Hashem a million times, and there's been sushi served there quite a few times already. Somebody's making a lot of money off of BGX, all right? Okay, Baruch Hashem. Anyhow, but... I wonder if we have Japanese in our blood a little, something. Anyway, listen to it. So the Gemara says that the 24th day of Nisan was a yontif. Why? Because what happened is that there were several court cases that the Africans brought up, that the Ishmaelites, that the Arabs brought up, and the Egyptians. I mean, assuming that the Egyptians were different at that time than the Muslim Arabs, or they weren't Muslim Arabs yet, because this is talking the Second Temple era, in the very beginning of the Second Temple era, so they weren't. But as far as there were several court cases that were to really to assail the Jewish people, and to really in a sense, mamish. Eviscerate the Jewish people that they brought up. The first court case was that the Africans all said that Israel is ours, and it was the Jews sabotaged us and wrested away from us. Right, that was these are famous court cases. The one that we're going to concentrate on right now was a court case that was brought up, and it was, listen very carefully. This is in the middle, if anybody wants to follow inside, it's in the middle of Sanhedrin Tzadik Aleph, around 25 lines from the top. And this is the claim that was made. Okay. Shuv Pamachas, another occurrence, another instance, another incident. The Bo B'nai Mitzrayim the Egyptians came along, the descendants of the Egyptians came along, Ladun im Yisrael, to have a court case, a judgment against Israel. The Israel were the defendants in this case, and there was a prosecution against them. Lifnei Alexandros Mokdon, in front of Alexander the Great. Alexander was the king of Greece. Greeks ruled over the Jewish people for 180 years. The time of the Second Temple, the very beginning of the Second Temple. Now, by the way, I have to point out something very important over here. That how could it be that these are the real Egyptians? What are they claiming? They're claiming like this. Amrullah, they said to him, Harayu Omer, they said to Alexander the Great, who was judging the court case. He was the chief justice, judging the impeachment, Chief Roberts, Alexander the Great. Harayu Omer, the Pasuk says, V'Hashem nosan eschenu am beini Mitzrayim, v'Hisham. He says that the Jewish people, they emptied out the Egyptians. Tunu lanu kesef v'zav. Give us the gold and silver, shenitalta mimenu, that was taken illicitly. It's a great claim. I want justice, said the Egyptians. Freg the achroina makasha, a bombakasha. 1 second, the Rambam says beferish that when Sancherib, the king of Assyria, came along, he was mavalvel. The word bavel actually comes from the word bilbul, which means basically to distort and to mix up. He was maval with oilam. He went and he did the great displacement. He took every country and he resettled them in different locales in different regions in the world to cause mayhem and confusion, so that no one would have any type of, be a real, true denizen or let's say natural entitlement to any type of land and ancestry. So if that's the case, that's why we paskin that an Egyptian that wants to become Jewish, there are rules with third generation. So we paskin that an Egyptian today comes to become Jewish, we don't necessarily have to say, well, we have to wait 3 generations, because if Sancherib, thousands of years ago, was maval with oilam, therefore there's no authentic Egyptian today, perhaps. So how could it be that these Egyptians came along? This post-dates, this is following Sancherib in the time of Alexander. So it must be that either, it's a very, very complicated situation, either the Egyptians were not displaced, or it was, by them, it was recognized precisely where they were resituated or relocated. Interesting teretz that's given. Another complication, another complication is the fact that Alexander the Great, the Gemara brings down that the reason why Another complication is the fact that Alexander the Great, the reason why he was asked to judge this case is because he had hegemony over the entire world civilization. He was a world monarch. And that's why he was asked to judge this very sensitive case, the Egyptians demanding their money back. This is also a problem. Why is it a problem? Because the Gemara Megillah, Daf Yud Aleph, says beferish that 3 malachim, 3 kings, were world monarchs. Who were those 3 kings? The Gemara says Achav, that was from king from Malchus Beis David, Achashverosh from the Purim story, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylonia.
Who's first again?
That's it. Achav, Achashverosh, and Nebuchadnezzar. Fregt Taisvis. But before we get to Taisvis' question, the Gemara asks a question. 1 second. The Gemara asks, 3 kings? What about King Solomon, Shlomo Melech? Didn't Shlomo Melech also reign the entire world? Sovereign king over the entire world? Answers the Gemara, and for the Gemara, he did. But his monarchy, there was a hiatus. There was a break. When he was deposed because of his behavior, because of a certain type of egregious, the Rebbeinu Shalom donned him, the Rebbeinu Shalom judged him, and therefore we only count people that had the duration that it was consistent. That's what the Gemara says.
Nebuchadnezzar became an animal. He went to graze in the fields. He was also interrupted.
It's a very good question. I was thinking about that. Similar to Shlomo, but the question is, was he ever reinstated? Shlomo was reinstated. Was it him reinstated? Was it somebody else reinstated? Shlomo was reinstated. But there was an excellent point though. Furthermore, then it says, Sancherib, Why isn't Sancherib mentioned? The king of Assyria was king over the whole entire civilized world. It says he never conquered, though, miraculously. Hey, JJ, he never conquered what? Yerushalayim. Remember, there's a whole miracle that happened. Hundreds of thousands of troops, miraculously overnight. You think the Rebbe Shem can't do it? You think we have to be worried about ISIS and Iran? We don't have to be worried. We have precedents. Overnight, they just totally imploded. That's it. This Mamish vanquished overnight. So that's what it says about Sancherib. The Gemara goes on. But Tosfos asks, what about Alexander of Macedonia? What about Alexander of Greece? And Tosfos says that the Gemara is only recording personalities, kings, that were mentioned in the Tanakh. He wasn't mentioned. He comes after the Tanakh. And therefore the Gemara doesn't mention him. Okay, let's see what happens here. Okay, so let's see what happens. So, l'chara, there's a very good allegation against the Jewish people. We have a very serious problem that the Egyptians want their money back. Oh boy, what's going to be? Omar Gavia ben Pasisa. Gavia, the son of Pasisa, says, you ready? Everybody listen carefully. Gavia, the son of Pasisa, said, who is Gavia ben Pasisa? He says to the Chachamim, to the sages, you have nothing to worry about. Tenuli Rishus, give me permission. Ve'elech v'adon imon, I will be the lawyer, I will be the advocate. Lefnei Alexander, in front of the great Alexander. You know what the Gemara says about Alexander? It's Yerushalmi in Avodah Zarah. It's also Tosfos and Babli of Avodah Zarah. It says that somehow he was able to levitate. He went up to the skies. He was a brilliant man. And he had a spaceship or something, and he was able to look at the earth and see a globe. We don't understand this. We can't fathom this. They say Da Vinci had plans for airplanes, right? There was wisdom before. Shlomo Melech, King Solomon says, "Ein davar chadash tachas shemesh." There's no innovation. Don't think that you're uber chacham. Don't think you know more than they knew. They knew things, but the Rebbe Shalom didn't want it to germinate, to flourish, until it says, the Zohar says, until the 600th year of the 6th millennium. That's when he wanted it to come to fruition. The knowledge was there. The patents were there, so to speak. Intellectual property was there, but the Rebbe Shalom didn't want it until that would be the path for Mashiach. The year 5600, 600th year of the 6th millennium, that would plant the seeds for Mashiach, all the technology, all the innovation, all the science. Okay. So this is what this Gavia and Pasisa, by the way, Gavia and Pasisa is not mentioned anywhere else in Shas. He's somebody who was shrouded in mystery and anonymity. We don't know exactly who he was. There are some Mefarshim that want to say he was a Kohen that served in the Beis HaMikdash. Others say that the word Gavia comes from the fact that he was a hunchback, that he had a defect in his back, which would mean that l'chara he would be pasul, he would be invalidated to serve in the temple. So some achronim want to reconcile this by saying that initially he was he was handsome and he was very fit to serve in the Beis HaMikdash, but later on he got disqualified because in his old age, that's when he got his back defect. Okay, whatever it is. He says, listen, Im Yinatzchuni, if I'm victorious, and I become the Alan Dershowitz of the day, all right, Mahavdil, because he was a Yiddish Gavia ben Pasisa, and he was a holy Yid. He says, and Alan Dershowitz is also a Yid, Baruch Hashem, but Im Yinatzchuni, if I'm victorious, Amalem Hedyot, that they will say that Shabanu Nitzchachtem. They'll say, oh, a simpleton, because he wasn't renowned, he wasn't in any way prominent or prestigious. So they'll say, oh, so who won for the Jewish people? Look at that, even the lowly amongst them, even the small amongst them. But they said, if I lose, I'm sorry. If I lose, then they won't say, it won't be a Chil Hashem, because you didn't put up your best lawyer, you didn't put up the biggest Talmid Chacham, they put up this simple lowly guy. Okay, so it wasn't something that was categoric, it wasn't something that they'll be able to castigate the whole Jewish people. But if I win, then I will go ahead and make a big Kiddush Hashem and not Seach, if I will be victorious against them. Amrulem Torah's Moshe Rabbeinu Nitzchaktem. It won't be attributed to me because I'm not somebody that is of privilege or stature, I'm not illustrious. You'll see that the Torah is true. So the Chacham said, okay, good. You're very, very shrewd, very smart. You have a good acumen. And you'll be the advocate. So he's the advocate. And Nasnulai Rishus, they gave him Rishus, V'halach v'danimon, and he became the lawyer for the and for the defendants. Amaleh, and he said to them, Mehechratem Mevian Raya. So he says, where are you bringing a raya? Where are you deducing a proof that the Jewish people stole money from you, Mr. Egyptians. So they said, we have Raya, Amalei, Minat Torah. They said, we're going to take from the Torah, from the Bible. What does the Torah say? Amalei, Afani, Lo Yavi Lechem Raya Minat Torah. He says, okay, I'll be fair. Let's call a spade a spade. You're advancing your proof from the Torah. I'll advance my proof from the Torah. Okay. So, Shenemar, Moshe b'nei Yisrael, Sheyashim Mitzrayim, Shloshim Shana v'Arba Me'ah Shana. He said to them, the Jewish people were in Mitzrayim for 430 years. Okay? Tnu lanu schar avoda shel shishim ribo shishabtem Mitzrayim, Shloshim Arba Me'ah Shana. He says, you want money from us? You've said we ransacked you. You say that we illicitly took money from you, Egyptians, that the Jews did something immoral to you? Okay. I'm going to prove it to you. What about the fact that we were slaves? 430 years in Egypt, 600,000 people. Go ahead and give us reparations. Give us reparations. Give us reparations. So this is what he says. So what happens? So Amrullah, they said to him, they were stumped. They were stupefied. And they said, give us 3 days to counter-argue. He gave them the time. They couldn't find any type of recourse. They couldn't find any type of retort. They abandoned all their fields and all their vineyards. And they ran away. And of course the Jewish people were able to have another yontif, another party. Okay. Let me ask you a question. The Marsha asks a question here. The Marsha says, why did he have to bring them a pasuk? Why can't you just tell them that God promised this? You have a claim against the money. You want the money back, but God promised that the Jewish people are going to leave with fabulous wealth. It's God. Don't bring up the claim against us. Bring up the claim to God. Obviously, you believe in the Torah because you're bringing a proof in the Torah. So this was a prophecy from God. It's an excellent question. Marsha says that the reason why they didn't say that is because they could argue back. That what? That they were told to borrow. And they weren't told that they could keep it. It says, Sha'alu, Vayishalum. That's Marsha's answer.
It was translated into their language, Torah, at the time?
Well, the Septuagint could be, but it was later on. It wasn't translated beforehand, but I guess they had educated people.
Wasn't there a cuneiform that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote that all the languages? Wasn't there like some sort of monument that they built?
There was cuneiform, yeah. I don't know if they were privy to it. Yeah, but I don't know if they were privy to it.
But the bigger question is,
it's the Museum of London.
Come and figure out this time ago. It's such an obvious. I'm not trying to take away from the dia, but it's pretty. Everybody knew they were slaves, so come on.
Because listen, when you're dealing with antagonistic people, you're dealing with heretics or whatever it is. They're not looking for answers. Right? You can't give an answer to somebody who doesn't seek an answer. So therefore, it was that's why he said, better I be the one. I'm a simpleton. And, it's unexpected, exactly. It was Haki Yashinov. It was just like, a blow to them. And so Ben Yehoyada, though, he says something fascinating. He says the reason why they didn't just say, well, this is what God wanted, he says because they could have claimed back, they could have counter-argued, this is what God wanted for you to leave rich. God meant that you should do commerce, you should do business, and enrich yourselves on your own, but not at our expense. You hear this? That's the Ben Ish Chai. That's the Ben Ish Chai. So you have the Marsha and you have the Ben Ish Chai to answer up. Yeah.
Two things.
David Ari.
First of all, even if, let's say, you say that they're going to come back and say that they should borrow, still at the time of, they work for them, so fine. We have to pay back. Immediately we borrowed. We're going to pay back, but then we decided to keep it as a payment. So it's still...
Okay. So, when the Maharshal comes back with Tchias HaMesim, you're going to have a big conversation with him. With Shmuel Idlis.
And my second point I want to say is that there's another shot of the shal is to ask them, right? Is to ask them for it.
No, we don't know. We said we don't know.
To be asking or...
No, we said that we don't know. Because we said that many Rishonim say that it's open to interpretation. Semantically, it may not mean to borrow. And therefore, it's from the word, let's say, Shiloh, which means ask. And ask, and Rishonim actually say that ask means that you're asking to something, that any question, anything you're asking, every person is entitled to an education. You're asking something that Sha'ilah means something that you should have an entitlement towards. Yeah. Okay, let's just quick, because we have a lot more to cover and it's getting very late.
Why did the Egyptians answer back? Hashem said you're going to be slaves. Slaves don't get paid. We own you. So we did what you were supposed to do. We're just following God's will. So why did the Egyptians answer back?
Okay, very good. Okay.
Yeah, no, the slaves do get paid when you afflict them.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Okay, well, let me see. I want to go further. We'll see we cover it once again. Yeah.
But back in, I think it's in Vaychi, it mentions how Paro gave Yosef Ramses. So it shows they already had a chelik. So it isn't like they're taking anything that didn't belong to them because they already had.
Okay, excellent. Okay, very good. I like that very much. Okay. Okay, so 1 second, please. Let's get here. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's go further. Gemara Brachas, Daf Tes, Amud Aleph. Amar de Rabbi Yanai. The Academy of Rabbi Yanai said, "Ein no Allah shabakasha." Please means a request. Remember, Rabban Shalom, God said, "Ask, please, the Jewish people to get their money." Here, Gershon, ask, please to get their money. So he says, God said to Moshe, I'm asking you, I'm requesting, please. For Avram Avinu won't say that I betrayed my people, that I promised that they would leave with fabulous wealth, and they left as indigent people. Okay. So Amrullah, they said back to him, we're happy just to leave. We don't need money. Why? Listen to what he said. It's analogous to a person who was incarcerated in a prison. He was told, don't worry, you're getting out of jail tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to get a lot of money when you get out of jail. So what does the guy say back? He says, don't do me any favors. Please. Let me out today. And I don't need any money. Just let me get out of here. Every day is torture. Every day is misery. Every day I don't know if I'm going to survive to tomorrow. I'm Michael the money. Let me just get out. Right? And that's what the Jewish people said. This is what they would say. So therefore, the Rebbe Shalom said, please, Avraham, make sure that they want to take the money. Because the Rebbe Shalom said to Moshe Rabbeinu, please make sure that they take the money, and they don't say, well, we don't want the money, we just want to get out. Okay, that's the Gemara. Let me ask you a question. How do you explain it? That God has to say to Moshe Rabbeinu, please make sure the Jewish people take the money. So I want to share with you an astounding Ran, Rabbeinu Nisim, in the Drashas Haran. Before that, I want to share with you a famous story that happened to Rav David Luria, the great Radal. The Radal was once brought up on a libelous charge, as happened to many Jewish people throughout the. Jewish people will always besmirched and arraigned on false charges and allegations, libel. So he's standing there in the court, and all of a sudden, he hears, now he was in Europe, and he hears that the magistrate, whatever it is, that the judge, that they start speaking in a language that he wouldn't understand, to start speaking behind his back, to plot against him. And they're speaking in French. Little did they know, though, that he knew French. So he went ahead and he walked away. And all of a sudden they started yelling, Jew! Dirty Jew! You have the disrespect to walk away without any allowance. How dare! And they were going to throw him into the dungeon and just leave him there, solitary confinement. And he said, I'd like to explain why I walked away. I said, I walked away because I didn't want to do Gnevus Das. I didn't want to do intellectual theft. You don't know that I know French, and you were speaking intimately or discreetly amongst yourselves. Little did you know that I know the language, and I felt it would be intellectual theft. It would be intellectually dishonest for me to stand there because you don't know that I am aware that I am privy to that language, that I know what you're saying. They said, what? They never saw such honesty in their lives. And because of that, he was acquitted. He was acquitted. They said, where did you get this from? He said, I learned it from Moshe Rabbeinu in Parshas Bo. The pasuk of Vayifen Vayetze, that Moshe Rabbeinu heard the Egyptians talking, Pharaoh talking, conversing, and collaborating, and he knew the language. So it says that he pardoned himself. He walked out so he wouldn't be privy to what they were saying. That's Moshe Emes V'Sarasa Emes. Moshe was the Ish Emes. He was the paragon. He was the epitome of Emes. And Rav David Luria learned it from him. These are our rabbis. They have, no, it's Lefnim Rishursitin. Here, Lefnim Rishursitin. It's above and beyond. I'm saying, but that's why they were Gedolim. You understand? They were impeccable. Al Chachamim. They have such integrity. Mamish. So listen what the Ran says. You won't believe this. It sounds a little almost sanctimonious or sacrilegious, but you have to be moichel. Listen to what it says. The Ran says that the reason why Hashem had to say, please Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah, Baruch. He says, please Moshe Rabbeinu. Please. Is because Moshe Rabbeinu said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be behind the Jewish people taking money from the Egyptians because it's like subterfuge. It's a little deceitful. Because I know that they're saying that, the Lashon may be borrowing and they're never going to give it back. And therefore the Baruch Shalom had to beg him to go along with it. Shh, can you imagine? All right, so obviously, if God says it's okay. It's more than okay. As a matter of fact, I want to tell you that the Sisei Chachamim takes it even to a deeper level. He says that Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid it was Gezela. Shh. You're entitled, 600,000 people worked there for hundreds of years. You're entitled to an astronomical sum, an inestimable sum. They said, but Jews, right, reparations. By the way, after the Holocaust, it was very, very controversial. In Germany, when Germany gave the reparations, there were many Jews that said, we don't want blood money. We don't want it. And after the Holocaust, I remember when I was growing up, Volkswagens people wouldn't buy. Well, they wouldn't buy, Mercedes they wouldn't buy. Because anything that was made in Germany, that was, our generation, Germany, nobody went to visit Germany. What? Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people, they don't have that conscience anymore. They don't, of course, people still do it. But unfortunately, it's not the same. And a lot of people have said, we're not taking any reparations. Because it's blood money. Now, a lot of Israelis, especially senior citizens, that's what they live off of. The halacha, are you allowed to take that money? Think about it. Where did they get that money from Germany? They got it from the blood. I mean, think about it. It itself was illicit money. It was because the half of Borough Park also, yeah, that's true. It's true. Second in. All right, it's a big shot. We're not getting into that now. But the Sifsei Chachamim says that, that Moshe Rabbeinu was so honest to the bone. He was such an ish emes that he didn't feel comfortable telling the Jews, go to the Egyptians and take money. And therefore, God had to please Moshe Rabbeinu, no, bakasha. Now, I also brought down here that the Riyaf was on Ein Yaakov, this Rabbi Shayo Pinto. He says that the Jews, the reason why they don't want to take the money is because when did they get the money? They got the money, think about it, when they got the money from the Egyptians? They went in there right after the plague of darkness. During the plague of darkness, they went into the Egyptian homes and they did a surveillance. It's like a real estate agent looking up and down everything, right? Getting to know the whole house. That's what they did. They got to know the whole house and they said, when we're allowed to ransack, I know exactly where, his 36-inch screen LED, whatever it is, and I know exactly where he keeps, his whiskey collection, I know, right? So during the Makas Bechoros, that's when they went in. And so Rabbi Shayo Pinto says that the Jewish people, we're too good. We're too nice. That's why we are the Ketzon LaTevach Yuva, we're the sheep that go to the slaughter. We're too good. We have it in our DNA. They couldn't bring themselves to go when the Egyptians were suffering and were languishing and were mortified, Nebuch, and being mutilated, they were being cut down. Everybody was done. They couldn't bring themselves to go to that. Therefore, Rabbi Shalom said to Moshe Rabbeinu, please, I'm telling you, prevail upon them. Imagine that. Okay, that's the no. Well, how come the first time around? Now remember the question. Okay, let's see how many people are paying attention. The first time, who was charged? Remember this. I know everybody had a long day, and it's already close to midnight. It's not midnight; it's still early. Anyhow, we'll see. I'll show you. By the Super Bowl, everybody's going to be, no matter what time it is, everybody's going to be up and awake. Okay, so the first time the Rebbeinu Shalom charged Moshe Rabbeinu to take the objects, to take the Lamborghinis and the Porsches and the Ferraris, who did he tell it to do? Who did he tell? The woman. I want to tell you a murder pshat I saw in the Achronim. Why did he tell the woman? He says because woman, it settles, it kills two birds with one stone. Mashakansi isha kana baila. Whatever a woman gets, it goes on automatically on the property of her husband. However, the second time around, there were many single Jewish men. There was a shidduch crisis. And Rabbi Shalom said, for the single men, what are they going to get? Right? If the woman get things, mashakansi isha kana baila, it doesn't help. So therefore, that's why he worried about the single men. Imagine that. And he said, go inside and get whatever you want. Interesting shot. Quick.
Since the woman didn't suffer as much, they wouldn't feel bad taking.
But they did. The woman suffered just as much. Yeah. They tortured the ladies, yeah. But interesting point. But listen to this. You ready for this? Listen carefully. Daras Eliyahu, that's the Vilna Gaon on the Chumash. He says something amazing. He says the reason why the Rebbeinu Shalom changes from Shchenta to Reusa, he says because at this stage, the Jewish people, their midos maybe weren't the best. In a certain sense, they did assimilate, even though they didn't acculturate all the way, but they did assimilate. And there were problems. They were eating too much sushi. I mean, listen, the fact is that we're American, You can't, you could take America, you could take the Jew out of America, but you can't take America out of the Jew. They say even, Lahavdil elf dos, Hashem, I don't mean this in any deprecating fashion. The Goyin Adir, the Gadol Ador of Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg, right? So he was the one that wore all the tzitzis. Remember, I'm sure everybody remembers, he wore like hundreds of pairs of tzitzis. And he looked like he was very obese. He looked like he was very heavy. Anybody ever meet Rav Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg? Raise your hand. You met the tzitzis? He was known as the tzitzis Gadol, right? Ever meet him? He looked like he was like a quarterback, for the 49ers. He looked very big. But he was really, he was so scrawny and so emaciated. He didn't eat. He was a tzaddik. He was very, very holy. He didn't eat. He mamish a morsel here just to keep him whatever he needed. Torah was his life. He ate Torah. That's what he ate. But the tzitzis made him look very, very big. I once had the chutzpah. I was with my father, so Zayin Gesund, and we were driving from Scheinberg. We were all together. This was many, many years ago, around I guess close to 40 years ago. And I asked him, I didn't know any. I just said, why does the Rosh Yeshiva? Why does he wear all these? What's this about? Why does he wear all the tzitzis? And he said, when you grow older, you'll understand. I don't know. I'm still waiting. Okay, I don't know. Some say that he did it as a schus for all the Jews that don't wear tzitzis yet. We don't know for sure. But Rav Scheinberg was like, he wrote on Choshen Mishpat. He was a poisik. He was a tremendous guy. They say he used to promise people that if you support his yeshiva, they'll get brachas, whatever they need, shidduchim, children, parnasa, shalmai, and it came true. He was a huge gadol. But I say that he knew about the Yankees. He knew about the, When he came to visit, yeah, because it was his nephew, yeah, right, it's niece, yeah. So he knew about the sports, He said, listen, you can't. It's hard. You could take the Jew, you could take him, bring him to Israel, but you can't take the America out of the. There's a certain culture that we become accustomed to, we become ingrained with, And listen, I mean, we all consider ourselves to be Torah Jews and Jewish Americans, but we're very American. Baruch Hashem, there's also something good about that. We should appreciate our country, and we hope the country should remain, Baruch Hashem, a bastion of kindness and a bastion of morality. It looks like it's a slippery slope, and it looks like it's very, very steadily corroding, unfortunately. But anyhow, so the Jewish people, they were in a very sensitive juncture. They're a very sensitive state, and they couldn't ask the Egyptians for the fur coats and the diamond necklaces. Why? Because in order to get Chena'am, in order to get the Egyptians to want to feel attracted towards them, to want to please them, you know how that happens? You see, we're living amongst the Goyim, and there's something we forget. And we think that if we ingratiate ourselves to the Goyim and try to bribe them and try to, in a certain sense, ingratiate ourselves, it doesn't work. You know what does work? What works is when we are good to one another. When we have achdus, When the Goyim see a lack of achdus amongst the Jews, that we can't even get our own act together, and we make Chil Hashem's left and right, then we show the Goyim that we're not worthy of being the Mamlechas Kohanim Goy Kadosh, of being the Am HaNivchar and Am Skula. And the Goyim say, if that's the case, then we will get them, and we'll get them bad. You see, we are a little sheep, the Jewish people, surrounded by 70 ravenous and rabid wolves. And it's a miracle every day that the Jewish people even exist. Naturally, logically, rationally, we should never exist. The only reason why we do exist is because we are divine, because we are abnormal, we're special. But as soon as we make ourselves like everybody else, and we fight amongst each other and everything else, then we're no longer worthy of protection. How do we get to Chei Na'am? How do we get to Chei Na'am? When we are kind and loving to one another. Says the Vilna Gaon in Adaras Leo something amazing. He says, the pasuk says, Me'es re'eu, Isha me'es rusa. The Torah changes. The Torah is saying at this stage, you can't go to your shechenta, you can't go to your Goyish neighbor and ask them for something. They'll say, goodbye, Charlie. We can't have anything to do with you. Because where is your achdus? Where is your avas habrios? Where is your midos tovos? In order for the Jews to be able to gain from the Goyim and have the respect of the Goyim, the Jews have to have self-respect and take care of one another. And therefore, says the Vilna Gaon, when the Torah says here, Ish me'es re'eu, that God is charging them to borrow from their neighbor, from their friend, it doesn't mean the Egyptians here. You hear this? It means for a Jew to Jew. What do you mean? The Jews have nothing. Who cares? The Jews have nothing. The Jews have nothing. The Jews are slaves. The Jews are slaves. They have nothing. Right? You know what the Gemara says? The Gemara says at the time of Yehuda Bar Eloi, 6 Talmidim slept in one blanket. They knew how to share. And at any time somebody was getting cold, instead of him pulling the blanket himself, he would push it to the other guy to learn how to be selfless instead of selfish. That's the Jew. To learn how to be selfless instead of selfish. And the Holocaust, the great Rav Nosson Tzvi Fingal, the Rosh Yeshiva of the Mir, he said the greatest lesson, he told this to the CEO of Starbucks. He said the biggest lesson we learned from the Holocaust. All the secular Jews said, never again, never again. He said, no, that's all cliche. He says the greatest lesson we learned from the Holocaust is that in the worst horrors, in the greatest atrocities and barbarism, he said there were people in the concentration camps that had nothing, were emaciated, they were skeletons, they were starving to death, they were deprecated, they were degraded into animals almost, rendered into nothing. He says, but they shared a blanket. And this is it. Ish me'es re'eu. When the Jew goes ahead, no matter whatever he has, the little that he has, and he's able to give it to his friend, and care about somebody else more than himself, then Vayiten Hashem es Chei Na'am. That's what happened. That was the magic bullet to make the Egyptians love the Jews and become infatuated with the Jews and say, we'll do anything for you, we'll give you whatever you want. And that's what we need here today. We don't have any enemies from the outside. There's no external enemies. Nobody. We don't have to be afraid of the American domestic terrorists. We don't have to be afraid of Iran. We don't have to be afraid of Hamas. You don't have to be afraid of anybody. You know who we have to be afraid of? Ourselves. We're our own worst enemy. When we don't get along, when we judge one another and think that there's superiority, then what happens is the Goyim are able to chas v'shalom, chas v'chalila, harm us. But if we stand together united and appreciate our differences and celebrate our differences and love, respect one another, then Bez Hashem Yisparach, we will have nothing to fear. Hey, asfu v'agidulchem. Gather together, make a united front, and you will be impenetrable, you will be invincible, you will be immune to any harm. And Bez Hashem, we should be zoicha to see the bias gold tzedek ben meheira v'yameinu amen. Shkach everybody, thank you for listening.